Today, we're tackling one of the most misunderstood school support systems, Section 504 plans. So, we'll bust some of the common myths, discuss some of the key facts, and clear up any confusion. Most importantly, my hope is that you'll learn a little more about how these plans can help your child thrive in school. Welcome to Disability Ed Pros. I'm Diana Fannin, epilepsy warrior, school psychologist, special education director, and autism mama. On this channel, I share evidence-based strategies, advocacy tips, and personal insights to empower parents of children with disabilities. First, let's clarify what a Section 504 plan is by comparing it to an individualized education program or IEP. While both of these offer support for students with disabilities, they come from different laws. IEPs fall under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, which is a federal law, and they are for students who need specially designed instruction due to a disability, along with support, services, accommodations, and modifications as needed. These fall under special education when you're in a public school in particular. 504 plans, on the other hand, are governed by Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, a civil rights law that prevents discrimination. These plans provide accommodations to help students access the same education as their peers without changing what's being taught. When you're in public schools, these are a function of general education. And that isn't always a huge distinction, but it is just important to know. Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive into some of the common myths about 504 plans. Myth 1. You need a formal diagnosis to get a 504 plan. So the facts are, a formal diagnosis can help, but it isn't usually required. Individual states do develop their own requirements and processes and individual districts, but the fact of the matter is that schools must evaluate if there is a suspicion that a student's disability is impacting their access to education. And this doesn't always need a medical diagnosis. The school's responsibility is to ensure that the student's needs are met, whether or not that comes with formal medical documentation. So there are some examples of this, particularly like students who suffer from anxiety. So that doesn't always have to mean that there is a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. It may simply be that a student struggles with anxiety and needs some minor accommodations that would fall under a 504 plan, and that doesn't have to be a medical diagnosis. So just one example of that. Myth 2. 504 plans provide specially designed instruction. So 504 plans can offer accommodations and related services in order to support a student's needs, but they do not include specially designed instruction. What that usually looks like is a teacher, a special education teacher who provides that instruction and support. So if a student needs changes to the curriculum, for example, how they're taught, they would likely need an IEP under IDEA. Specially designed instruction is really the big differentiator, that big distinction between the two, the IEP and the 504. If your child needs that additional academic support, then you're likely looking for an IEP. Myth 3. 504 plans only provide simple accommodations. So this is a really common myth, that 504 plans are limited to accommodations like extra time on tests or preferential seating. That is just not true. Students can also receive related services like speech therapy, occupational therapy, or counseling through a 504 plan if it is necessary for them to access their education in a way that provides them what they need to be successful. One thing to note, though, is that 504s don't include goals, and they don't include progress reports, or they don't legally require those things like an IEP does. So your child could receive services, but the 504 doesn't require the same kinds of progress monitoring that an IEP does. Now, you may be wondering why there is confusion over this, or why it seems kind of like a hidden service that could be given on a 504. The truth is, some school staff may not know about this, and some schools may not always openly advertise this. I can't say for sure why, and I'm sure the reason is different in every school and district, but the important thing to know is that related services are an option and they can be crucial for your child's success, especially if you're looking to a 504 as an option because your child wasn't eligible for an IEP. All right, our fourth myth. 504 plans are lesser than IEPs. This is one I hear all the time. Somehow they're viewed as less important or that they offer fewer protections than IEPs. And that is not true. 504 plans are legally enforceable just like IEPs. They're not lesser, but they do serve a different purpose, and they're for a specific child with specific characteristics. As I mentioned before, a 504 plan is part of general education, while an IEP falls under special education. 504s don't include goals or specially designed instruction, but that doesn't make them any less powerful in ensuring equal access to education. I will say that the power, if we want to call it that, or maybe efficacy is a better word, of a 504 is often about the school district or even the school who is developing and implementing it. I've seen schools who do a fabulous job of executing a 504 plan, and in that case, it is what the student needs. So it's not always about the document or the plan. It is often just about the quality of the execution. And so keep that in mind. Myth number 5. 504 plans are only for students with physical or health disabilities. Some parents think that, or people, I should say, think that 504 plans are only for students with physical disabilities, such as those in wheelchairs or with more significant medical conditions. The truth is that 504 plans cover any disability that substantially limits a major life activity, including ADHD, anxiety, depression, learning disabilities, and chronic conditions like epilepsy or diabetes. It's not just about physical disabilities, it is about any condition that impacts access to education. Myth 6. 504 plans continue after high school, so they're better than IEPs. This is a big myth we're about to shatter. Neither 504 plans nor IEPs automatically continue after high school. Did you know that? I've heard this from parents and honestly, a ton of other people quite a bit. I've even heard of schools shifting students from IEPs to 504s with the thought or hope that it would continue after high school. And that was a great intention, but it was not necessary. Because the fact of the matter is that while Section 504 does apply to post-secondary institutions, the accommodations and the processes work differently. Colleges often issue a letter of accommodations, LOA, or an educational plan. Sometimes that educational plan could be an email plan. But they're not the same as the structured plans that students receive in K-12 settings. Each institution handles accommodations differently, and the protections change after high school. So whether your child has an IEP or a 504, there is not one that is better than the other, and the post-secondary institutions will review your documents and take those under advisement when they issue their plan to your child. So our last one today, myth 7, only public schools provide 504 plans. So fact, while private schools are not required to follow IDEA, which governs IEPs, they are still subject to Section 504 if they receive any federal funding. This means that students in certain private schools may also be eligible for accommodations under a 504 plan, so something interesting to think about. So now that we've busted some of these myths, here are a few key points to remember about 504 plans. Students can receive related services like speech therapy, counseling, or occupational therapy through a 504 plan. 504 plans don't include specially designed instruction, So if your child needs significant modifications to the curriculum, they might need an IEP. 504 plans are for any disability that impacts major life activities, physical, emotional, or mental. And finally, 504 plans are legally enforceable, just like IEPs, and schools are required to follow them. If they don't, there are steps you can take to protect your child's rights. Now, in closing, thank you for being here, and I really do hope this video helped clear up some of the biggest myths about Section 504 plans. Please remember that this 504 plan, a 504 plan, can be a powerful tool for ensuring your child's success, even if they don't need special education services. Now, I hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to drop a comment. Let me know if you need more of something, if you have a question. I would love to continue the conversation, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.